dan manajemen bencana di daerahnya di Kampung Candi rawan bencana 3, 1 erupsi Gunung Kelut. Kabupaten Blitar memiliki pedoman pelaksanaan pelayanan guna memastikan kualitas pelayanan serta pelaksanaan prosedur kesehatan dan keselamatan kerja atau KULIAH. Selain aktivitas akademik, program studi D3 Keperawatan Kampus Blitar juga mendukung kreativitas mahasiswa dalam organisasi mahasiswa guna menumbuhkan sikap kepemimpinan, kepercayaan diri, serta mengembangkan minat dan bakat mahasiswa dalam rangka melaksanakan amanat Tridharma perguruan tinggi. Selain pendidikan dan penelitian, program studi D3 Keperawatan Kampus Blitar juga melakukan kegiatan pengabdian kepada masyarakat, khususnya yang berkaitan dengan kegawat daruratan dan manajemen bencana.
Perkenalkan, saya Untitled Chapter, Politeknik Kesehatan Kemenkes Malang, program studi D3 Keperawatan Malang, angkatan tahun 2017. Saat ini saya bekerja di Rumah Sakit Lansia Ibaraki, Jepang. Saya bangga telah menjadi salah satu alumni Polkesma, karena malah memberi saya banyak ilmu dan pengetahuan, sehingga di titik ini saya bisa berada.
Saya Rizka Sundaya, saya alumni D3 Keperawatan Malang, Kemenkes Malang tahun 2017. Sekarang saya bekerja di Rumah Sakit Al-Azhar di Kota Asia, Makassar, Sulawesi.
Program studi D3 Keperawatan Kampus Blitar siap abdi kepada masyarakat demi kemajuan bangsa Indonesia. Tiga, Keperawatan Kampus Blitar Politeknik Kesehatan Kemenkes Malang. Demi menunjang aktivitas pendidikan dan pembelajaran, program D3 Keperawatan Kampus Blitar berupaya untuk menyelenggarakan program pendidikan vokasi yang sesuai dengan standar nasional pendidikan tinggi dan sistem jaminan mutu.
Program studi D3 Keperawatan Kampus Blitar berkomitmen menjadi program studi yang karakter dan unggul di bidang keperawatan kegawat daruratan di tingkat nasional dan internasional, serta mampu menjawab kebutuhan tenaga keperawatan yang siap mengabdi masyarakat.
Guna menghadirkan atmosfer yang mendukung perkuliahan, program studi D3 Keperawatan Kampus Blitar menyediakan fasilitas yang memadai, mulai dari ruang kuliah yang nyaman, pustakaan, ruang kepala prodi, ruang dosen, ruang BK, studio film, auditorium, gazebo, taman refleksi dan herbal, musola, serta sistem layanan peminjaman laboratorium secara online diakses secara real-time melalui lab observation. Program studi D3 Keperawatan Kampus Blitar juga memiliki 7 ruang laboratorium kompetensi perawatan yang dilengkapi dengan alat-alat teknologi canggih dan sesuai tuntutan kurikulum meliputi Laboratorium Keperawatan Dasar, Laboratorium Keperawatan Maternalitas, Laboratorium Keperawatan Anak, Laboratorium Keperawatan Jiwa, Laboratorium Keperawatan Komunitas Genetik dan Keluarga, Laboratorium Keperawatan Medikal Bedah, Laboratorium Keperawatan Kegawat Daruratan Bencana sebagai laboratorium kegawat daruratan pasien prabencana hingga pasca bencana, termasuk berkelanjutan pasien darurat bencana. Laboratorium ini merupakan unggulan dan pencari untuk mencapai visi program studi D3 Keperawatan Kampus Blitar. Selain itu, program studi D3 Keperawatan Kampus Blitar memiliki laboratorium kegawatan manajemen bencana di daerah binaannya, yaitu di Kampung Candi Sewu, yang merupakan kawasan rawan bencana 3, ring 1 erupsi Gunung Kelut. Laboratorium Keperawatan Kampus Blitar memiliki pedoman pelaksanaan dan pelayanan guna memastikan kualitas pelayanan serta pelaksanaan
Buki masih di ya.
Assalamualaikum, Pak Wildan.
Waalaikumsalam. Nggak delay suaranya.
Oke.
Jelas suaranya.
Seluruh jaringan bermasalah katanya.
Iya, ini kok delay ya.
Oke.
Dr. Jul already.
Oke, Dr. Jul. Good
Good
morning,
morning,
Jul.
Dr. Joel.
Dr. Jul.
Good morning.
Dr. Joel. Oke.
Morning.
Ya, suaranya nganu ya. Delay.
Iya.
But for Dr. Jul, I think
Bisa
not delay.
Oh, clear.
Dua pesertanya.
Ya.
Nunggu berapa Pak Agus jumlahnya?
Sudah cukup itu bisa dimulai. Monggo MC untuk dimulai acaranya.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Shalom, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya, Salam Kebajikan. The Honorable, the Vice Director of Polkesma, Bapak Dr. Muhammad Wildan, MPD, the Honorable Head of Blitar Nursing Diplomatory Study Program, Mrs. Dr. Nursri Mugianti, MKep, the Honorable, our speaker this morning, Dr. Julrey Uksang, EKEP, and DNSG, SGRN, the Honorable Lecturers and Fellow Academia of Blitar Nursing Study Program. First of all, let us praise to the Almighty Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala. Because of His blessing, we are able to come here to join quiz lecture of Blitar Nursing Diplomatory Study Program with the title Importance of Vaccination and Immunity Education Vulnerable Groups. Secondly, may peace be upon our Prophet Muhammad Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam, who has guided us into the right ways of life. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Wahyu Azhar Sofazi Homirul. As the MC today, on 24 of February 2021, at Quest Lecture of Blitar Nursing Diplomatory Study Program, with the title Importance of Vaccination and Immunity Education Vulnerable Groups. We would like to extend a very warm welcome to all of you. We appreciate and thank to all of you taking time off your schedule to join this program. Participate and share how important the vaccine is for the public and increase insight into the immunity of the body and our role as the medical personnel.
Suaranya kok tidak terdengar ya?
Well, in this special morning, we have several agendas. So I, as Master of Ceremony, today. Gak bisa, Bapak. Enggak,
Tidak dengar suaranya ini.
MC, suaranya tidak terdengar. Ya, kamu mute soalnya. MC-nya di mute itu. Tadi terdengar.
Well, in this special morning, we have several agendas. So I am Master of Ceremony today. I would like to outline all the agendas are as follows.
So sorry, Mr. Joel, because the signal is not good in Indonesia.
No problem, no problem.
Yes,
It's okay.
thank you.
Well, in this special morning, we have several agendas. So I, as Master of Ceremony today, I would like to outline all the agendas as follows. The first agenda is opening. The second is listening national anthem, Indonesia Raya, and Polkes Mahibnya. The third is committee report of this program by Cecil Miranda. The fourth is welcome speech delivered by Mrs. Dr. Nasri Mugianti MKep. The fifth is speaker's resume reading. Continue with a material delivered by our speaker today. The last agenda are documentation and submission participant certificate. Continue with closing. Well, to take advantage of the quality time, let us open this program with basmalah together. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Ladies and gentlemen, now let us listen to the national anthem Indonesia Raya and Polkes Mahibnya. So, for the audience, please sit up straight. The next agenda is committed by Cecil Miranda. So, Cecil Miranda, time is yours.
Thank you, Ayu. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Peace for all of us. The Honorable, the Vice Director 1, Mr. Dr. M. Wildan, MPD. The Honorable, Head of Veterinary Study Program, Mrs. Dr. Nurse Sri Mugianti MKep. The Honorable, ladies and gentlemen, lecturers and fellow academia of Blitar's Nursing Study Program. The Honorable, Mr. Dr. Joel Ray Aksang Akop, as guest lecturer on this morning, as well as all the guest lecture participants. First of all, let us say praise to God who gives thousands of favors to us on this day, so that we can gather at the guest lecture, Blitar Nursing Study Program, Malang State Health Polytechnic, with the theme Importance of Vaccination and Immunity Education Among Vulnerable Groups on February 24, 2021 in a healthy state. I'm Cecil Miranda Sinta. As the committee representative, would like to welcome and thank the audience for coming to the guest lecture this morning. I also thank all the committee and college who have helped in organizing this event. Our goal in organizing this event, namely first, to get information about how important vaccination is and get knowledge about immunity. Second, to get knowledge about the importance of vaccination in vulnerable groups of people. Third, implementing the work program of Study Program Student Association. Fourth, students and lecturers of Malang State Health Polytechnic get basic knowledge about importance of vaccination and immunity education among vulnerable groups. Let us follow this event well so that it can run smoothly and we can get the benefits. Finally, if there are many shortcomings in organizing this event, we apologize. Welcome to join this event and may be useful. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you for the report, Cecil Miranda. Before we begin our main agenda, we are pleased to have Mrs. Dr. Nurse Sri Mugianti MKep to deliver opening speech. Mrs. Dr. Nurse Sri Mugianti MKep, time is yours.
Correct, MC. Mr. Wildan, opening speech.
Baik. Bisa dengar suara saya ini ya?
Clear.
Nah, Pak Wildan, dia.
MC-nya nggak dengar.
Ya, bisa.
Ya, bisa Pak Wildan, suaranya jelas, bagus.
Okay. Thank you MC. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Good morning everyone. May peace be upon all of us. The Honorable Head of Nursing Department, Poltekkes Kemenkes Malang, our distinguished speaker, Mr. Jul Ray Eng Sengkep, DNSG, SGRN, RN from Visaya State University. Good morning, welcome to Indonesia, Mr. Welcome to State Head Polytechnic of Malang. Yeah. Welcome to Malang. I would like also to welcome the Honorable Head of DT Nursing Program Study of Blitar, all lecturer and guests, and all my beloved students. Let's spread gratitude to Allah Subhanahu wa Ta'ala, the Almighty good, for giving the head an opportunity today so that we can all be had join this wonderful quiz lecture in this morning. I wish we can all fully join meeting from the beginning until the end properly. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of myself and the management of Poltekkes Kemenkes Malang, I put my highest appreciation for today's quiz lecture, which entitled The Importance of Vaccination and Immunity Education Among Vulnerable Groups. This event is the application development of medical surgical nursing and community nursing subjects. Hopefully, this program can add all your nursing lecturers and students knowledge and competencies, especially for field and of vaccination and immunity. Congratulations and success for nursing study program of Blitar for the commission of the event. My deepest gratitude also for Mr. Jul, who has agreed to become our lecturer today. We hope this good cooperation and be continued with many other various programs in the future. Ladies and gentlemen, especially all the students, today's topic is really interesting, beloved. We can learn about the importance of vaccination and immunity education among the vulnerable groups. Not to mention that we have COVID-19 vaccination all cover of the world nowadays. Show that what makes it really important. Then I hope all of you can follow this program properly and take as much benefit as possible from this. Finally, that is that I can say to you, I wish this event can run well and be beneficial for all of us. Amin. Be saying Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today's quiz lecture entitled The Importance of Vaccination and Immunity Education Among Vulnerable Groups is opened officially. Thank you, and let's enjoy the program. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good morning. Thank you.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you, Mr. Wildan.
Okay, thank you for your report, Dr. Wildan. The announcement for participants, the attendance form has available in Room's chat Zoom or YouTube. So for the participant, please fill the form. Ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is reading speaker resume. Continue with our main agenda, the quiz lecture of Blitar Nursing Diploma 3 Study Program, with the title Important of Vaccination and Immunity Education, Vulnerable Groups. Delivery by Mr. Jul Ray Uksan, ACAP, DNSG, SGRN. For this agenda, I hope the audience will take the notice from the beginning of the material to the end. And this session moderated by Jessica Kori Ashari. So, to Jessica as moderator, I invite you to take the over session. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody, and welcome to participant. And our speaker today is Dr. Joel Ray Oksan Akop, DNSG SCRF. I'm Jessica Hori Azari. As moderator guest lecture today, invite speaker Dr. Joel Ray Oksan Akop, DNSG SCRN. From Faculty of Nursing, Visayas State University, Filipina. Can sharing about importance of vaccination and immunity education among vulnerable groups. And the next this lecture is expected to finish at 11 a.m. Before we start, let me read the curriculum vitae of our speaker. Please turn the CV. So, the speaker in this guest lecture, he is Dr. Joel Ray Oksan Akop, DNSG SCR. He is an assistant professor, Visayas State University, Visca, City of Baybay, Philippines, Leyte, 6521 NA. Here are some of these education attainment. The first, postgraduate school, Doctor of Philosophy in Nursing Science, Saint Paul University, Philippines, Tuguy Garaw, Cagayan. Next, recipient of the 2020 Distinguished Nursing Educator Award, an award given to exemplary nurse educator as acclaimed by the New Delhi Society Developed Hotel, Bangkok, Thailand. Then here are some of his work experience. In July 2020 present, Dean College of Nursing, Visayas State University, Visca, City of Baybay, Leyte, Philippines. In June 2018 to June 2020, Research, Development and Extension Coordinator, College of Nursing, Visayas State University. In June 2011 to January 2017, clinical instructor, the College of Medicine, or TCM, Southern Leyte. Other work experience before 2017, research coordinators, student affairs coordinator, advisor of Philippine Red Cross Youth Council, the College of Medicine, staff nurse at Ormoc District Hospital. And then any question, in the chat room by mention the name of the student, and also the student can asking directly. Okay, now we will listen the material that will be delivered by Dr. Joel. Ray, time is yours.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, Mr.
Okay. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
And I want to say thank you to all of you participating in this special lecture about the importance of vaccination and immunity among vulnerable population. Okay, and so I would like to ask Pak Agus to please present the material for me so I can start with my lecture.
Okay.
Thank you so much. Okay, so I would like to discuss about the vaccination and why it is very important for us to know the importance of education as a nurse, no, as a healthcare provider. It is very important for us to share knowledge to our vulnerable population. So the objectives of my talk this morning is found on the next slide, please. Okay, I would be discussing to you a brief review of what is vaccination and immunity and the education, which is very important part for the schools like us, the institution, the academic institution, of getting involved in the information dissemination of our to the community level or even to our patients in the hospital. For if we go to our hospital and when our patient ask why vaccines and vaccinations are important. Okay, next slide. This is a definition of vaccine. Okay, so vaccination or vaccine is safe and effective way of protecting people against harmful diseases before they come into contact with them. So, what is your idea right now that we are facing COVID-19 and there are many vaccines out there that being studied by the different pharmaceutical companies on the use of it to protect the population and at the same time to at least provide a certain degree of safety, protection, and immunity, not only to the individual self, but also to the community in general. So there are myths or there are misunderstanding or miscommunication on vaccines. The COVID-19 vaccine is out, and we know that this is not yet fully undergone complete clinical trials. Where later on I will discuss about that. But the very reason why vaccine is given is for us to have a protection for ourselves and also the protection of the people surrounding us. That is called as the herd immunity. No? meaning herd immunity when there are a greater number of population being able to receive the vaccine. And so we can safely say that we are already acquiring that herd immunity. So again, vaccine is a safe procedure in order to protect ourselves from diseases. We have a long-standing program about immunization in the children below 5 or 4 years old. We have the BCG, the polio vaccine. We have the vaccine for diphtheria, for measles, and all that. All that. So I will focus my talk on the COVID-19 later on. So another definition of vaccination is that it uses the body's natural defenses to build resistance to specific infections and makes the immune system stronger. Although we have what we call a personal level of immunity, no? Or we say the active immunity, we also have the passive immunity. When you say passive immunity, this is now the use of vaccine or giving of vaccines for us to at least provide a certain degree of protection to a specific infection from, of course, from the diseases that we acquire now, especially in the time of pandemic, wherein a lot of people die, especially the elderly, die because of comorbidity, meaning they already have an existing disease and another, they come in contact with a COVID-19, the virus, which causes the disease and will give them or lead them to immediate death. So that's why the government or any government, the WHO, the World Health Organization are really into campaigning us, encouraging us to accept or to be vaccinated for us to have a defense in terms of diseases that may acquire later on. And that's the reason also why our schools, especially the nursing schools, are not sending students to hospital. We even stop the face-to-face classes because no vaccine yet available, especially in the Philippines. No? So that's vaccine. It gives us a safe and protective means to be able to do away with diseases from the people that surrounds us, or if not, to increase the immune system for the individual. Next slide. Next slide, please.
Next slide, please.
Okay, so as I've said, it is very important to have the vaccine. I already mentioned this to you that we have to have the vaccine for our own self, for our own protection. And the moment you receive vaccine, example, in the Philippines now, the population is 100 million, for example. And 70%, at least 60 or 70% of that would also receive the vaccine or should be vaccinated to acquire the herd immunity. So it's very important that everyone should be vaccinated in order to have herd immunity. Okay, can we go back with the last slide? Go back with our last slide.
Kembali, go back kembali.
Before. Okay, okay, okay. So again, thank you. So self-protection and herd immunity. And another is in order for us to, aside from the protection of self, the seriously ill also are not advised to get vaccination. No? Again, the seriously ill, meaning those who have terminal diseases, terminal problems like cancer, for example, are not advised to get the vaccine. Why? Because the vaccine has an antibody or an antigen or a weakened bacteria or a virus, for example. And when that reaches the body, when that reaches the body of the patient, it will be able to create more energy or to regenerate. So that weakened bacteria will now become active. And considering that, example, a cancer patient and undergoing chemotherapy or a seriously ill individual will, when able to receive the vaccine, perhaps the body cannot, may experience struggle or cannot, should I say, yes, cannot able to cope with the presence of that live virus in the body, which lead to an immediate death or damage of some other parts. That is why it is not advised that those seriously ill, meaning the cancer, the terminally ill, for example, the terminal cancer patients, are not advised to get the vaccine. Okay, so next slide. In COVID-19, vaccination continues to be critically important. No, right now, the World Health Organization or maybe the government of Indonesia are in campaign, no, that to buy, to purchase vaccine because the pandemic has caused a decline in the number of children receiving routine immunizations, which could lead to an increase in illness and death from preventable diseases. There are reports, example, in the US and in the United Kingdom, that there are elderly who received a dose of vaccine, COVID-19 vaccine, and ultimately died. Okay, so the global community, the world, is actually afraid of accepting or receiving these vaccines. Aside from the fact that it is not yet completed, no, the phases, later on I will discuss the phases of vaccine development. Aside from that, the COVID-19 vaccine is not yet in its full completion of development. No? Because we're afraid to die, of course, any one of us are afraid to die. No? And so because of that incident, the people, the world is afraid of acquiring or receiving the vaccine. Why? Because of the adverse effects or the complications that is not yet addressed because the vaccine is still under investigation. The children, no, even if the children already have the vaccine, that's why it is called the extended program of immunization. The extended program, like the polio vaccine, the BCG, the diphtheria, the measles, the rubella vaccines. These are already proven vaccines in the world. And here, COVID-19. And when able to get vaccination, people die because of comorbidity. That's why these preventable diseases like the diphtheria, the rubella, the tuberculosis, these are preventable diseases, and we have existing immunizations for that or vaccines for that. Parents are afraid because it is a trauma. When we heard of vaccine, it is related actually to COVID-19. That's how we think of it. And so when there are long-standing immunization program for children, Sometimes the parents will not allow their children to receive the vaccine, even if that is not for COVID-19. So there is increase of illness and death because of the fear, because the trauma of the said vaccinations. So the World Health Organization has reached the country. They are calling, they're campaigning every nationality to ensure that the essential immunization, the very important immunization, health services in the community level or even in the hospital should be continued to be given to our patients, to our community people, despite the challenges posed by the COVID-19 problem. Okay, so yesterday I attended the forum about COVID-19 in the Philippines, and there are issues that most of the Filipinos are afraid to be vaccinated, again, because they do not know what will happen to them when one gets vaccinated with COVID-19. But after the symposium, after the webinar we have, it was clear we are corrected, because of information, because of proper education. We are corrected that we should not get afraid of being vaccinated. Okay, the next slide. This is the vulnerable groups. In the vulnerable groups, it's very young and they're very old. As I have said, there are children, there are already vaccination programs in the government long before the COVID-19 happened. There are already programs for children or for babies less than 6 months vaccination. We have the BCG, the rubella, the measles, the oral polio vaccine, and those all. So, but it was being affected because the parents are afraid, that their children will acquire COVID-19 problem. So the vulnerable population part of it, we have the vulnerable children, the below 6 years old or the very young. We also have the very old, meaning the adults aging 65 years old and above, our grandparents. We also consider child care or nursing home workers, meaning to say the primary health workers who is always facing the patient and their diseases every day. People in the primary health care setting. I don't know if I remember it right, but the word is keder or kedre in Indonesia, the community health worker. They're also part of the vulnerable group because even without COVID-19 pandemic, there is this cadre, the community health workers are always facing their patients from time to time. So we also have nurses in the hospital. They're considered vulnerable because we always deal with life every day. People with weak immune system, they are vulnerable. Those who are immunocompromised individuals are considered vulnerable population. Those having comorbidities, for example, when you say comorbidities, they have an existing disease conditions, like they have diabetes, they have, problems regarding the heart problem or the respiratory problem, like the lung diseases, or problems such as cancer, for example, is affecting the blood, or cancer with the blood, or leukemia, for example. These are immunocompromised individuals. People who also suffer from chronic diseases, example, your COPD, the chronic obstructive pulmonary diseases, are also considered vulnerable individual. We also have pregnant women. Why pregnant women are vulnerable? Because they bear with them the fetus, good for 9 months, for as long as the baby is not delivered, the mother in terms of immunity are compromised because the mother has to take in a lot of vitamins, healthy nutrition, and prenatal checkup in order for the baby to get well once delivered. So by the time no, that the mother is still on the pregnancy stage, different trimester of pregnancy, the mother is considered vulnerable. And we should know who are these people so that we will be able to provide proper teaching and proper education appropriate for their age bracket. Okay, so next slide. So what is in the vaccine? Now we are thinking of what is really in that vaccine, why vaccine is very important. The first is that the antigen. This is the major component of the vaccine. This is an attenuated, when you say attenuated, a weakened form of the virus, which trains the body to recognize and fight the disease if one encounter in the future. Example, an elderly is receiving a pneumococcal vaccine or flu vaccine. In that vaccine, there is a weakened form of the virus that when come in contact in the body cells or in the body chemistry, it now starts to create no, identity as a source of protection of that person in order that by the next time you will encounter the said disease or the said problem, you are protected to it. No? Say, for example, the vaccine is like a blanket. It's like a blazer that will cover us from colds or from changing weather conditions. So same as with the vaccine, it is given to us. We have to get a shot of that vaccine because it has antigen that will even multiply and will even regenerate its energy once in contact with the body systems or in the body cells. It's the antigen. That's one of the major components of a particular vaccine. Another is the adjuvants. When you say adjuvants, this is helping the body to boost its immunity level or to boost its immunity response. This means that this would help the vaccines to work better. No? So, but even if we don't have the vaccines, we can still boost, we can still improve our immunity, our immune system by taking or by eating fresh foods, for example, or the vegetables, for example, the green leafy vegetables, or we even take vitamins, the vitamin C, the sources of vitamin C. We have the commercially prepared vitamin C. We also have vitamin C in oranges, in lemons, for example, or in pineapple or in guava. These are sources of, or like the fruits that are very good source of vitamin C that has a particle or that has a what we call this, a component of increasing our immunity. Another is the preservatives. This ensures a vaccine stays effective, especially in the Philippines or even in Indonesia, where we are in the archipelago, meaning we are divided by oceans, we are divided by seas. Now, I've been to Indonesia, no, except last year because we are not allowed to go because of the pandemic. But since 2015 until 2019, I keep coming back to Indonesia, not to have lectures, to talk about research. I believe I've been to Blitar. No, I don't know what year is that. I think it's in 2015. I know because when I read the participants list, I saw the name of Soprajitno, and Soprajitno. No, I hope he can still remember me when I was a bit younger that time with Dr. Bawa, and the wife of Soprajitno is also with us during that time. So I hope he can still remember me, and even the director of your institution. Uh, I think what's it? He still recognized me. No, we've been into a plane going to Tuguegarao to attend the conference. But well, anyway, the preservatives or the stabilizers actually are helping us, to have a certain degree of protection to the vaccines. I said archipelago because when we travel the vaccine from the mainland to the different community or to the different areas where there is distance in terms of air distance, and we travel the vaccines via sea or via air or via train, it takes time, and the storage capacity should be very good every time we transport vaccine, because the temperature, the storage, the transportation are actually factors that affects the efficacy or the potency of that vaccine. So the pharmaceutical companies are incorporating preservatives and stabilizers in order to protect and preserve the quality of the vaccine once it reaches to the community level. Okay, so that's more or less the content of the vaccine. Next slide. So the question is it safe? No? Are COVID-19 vaccine safe? As I have said, vaccine can cause a mild side effects, especially in COVID-19, that we are not yet done with the complete phases. We have phase 4, phases 1 to 4, and later on I will discuss on that. Phases 1 to 4 of the vaccine development. And we are still on the phase 3, the third phase. No, I think that's phase 3 and phase B, 3B of the vaccine development. But I will tell you that the World Health Organization is giving, permission that this vaccine will be given to the thousands of populations, not as a treatment, but as part of the clinical trials. Okay, and the WHO is allowing that to be used to the people, thousands of people, in order to address the crisis of COVID-19 and to document further what are the complications or what are the possible effects when this is given to the thousands of people. And the researchers will start to document now what are the side effects or the complications, so that in phase 4, they will be able again to incorporate interventions in that vaccine, so that when it is given back to the patient or to the people or to the community level, the said effects or the side effects will be addressed. So again, it is expected that there are some side effects, mild, meaning tolerable, nothing to worry about. This is not a complication that leads to death to our patients. Mild reactions go away within few days or their own. Example, when after you receive the vaccine, because it is safe, but you will experience a bit increase in body temperature as the body reacts to the antigen, or if not, there would be slight of inflammation or redness, erythema in the site where injection is provided. That could be some of the mainly mild reactions of the said vaccine. There are also severe or long-lasting side effects, which are very rare, and vaccines are continually monitored for safety to detect the rare adverse effect. That's why when we are giving this to phase 3, this is given for an immediate use, no? For an emergency use. That's why WHO allows the health providers to give already the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine, because it's part of their monitoring and continuing development to document how far are they going to improve more, or what else are they going to incorporate on that vaccine to make it more effective. Okay, so generally the vaccine, the COVID-19 vaccine is safe. Next slide. This is how I understand, or I present to you. I already mentioned this to you, the different phases of your vaccines. I presented the differentiation between a normal, when we develop vaccines like vaccines for measles, for rubella, for polio vaccines. This is classified under classical vaccines. So in the preclinical, ideally, the preclinical stage happens from 18 to 30 months. That's more or less 2 years, 2 years and a half. But in COVID-19, there is no clinical stage because we are on the emergency situations, and we really have to develop the vaccines and give these vaccines as soon as possible to the major population. In the right now we are on the phase 3 of COVID-19 vaccines. Again, we are given this to thousands of volunteers. We make sure that whoever receives the vaccine should provide consent, should provide information appropriate, should be given checkup prior to the giving of vaccines to see if the body is really capable of receiving the antigen. Okay, so in this presentation, we have the pre-licensure and post-licensure. Okay, the one with different phases, from phases 1 to 4. So in the preclinical trial, it should be done in the laboratory. No, in the classical vaccines, researchers, chemists, developers, manufacturers, pharmaceutical companies are actually performing the preclinical trials in the laboratory. But if you notice in COVID-19 vaccines, there is no preclinical stage, meaning we immediately proceed to phase 1 because, again, it is an emergency. This is a pandemic, meaning the disease is affecting the entire universe or the entire world. So there was a shortened process. We cut short the process of developing and testing vaccines. In the phase 1, it is given to 20 to 80 people, and we'll try to monitor what really happened, no, with a smaller group of population. And then we increase the population to 100 to 300 and try to compare if the effects or if the side effects or the signs and symptoms are still the same, those people in the phase 1 as participants. So that's the phase 2. We just do 300 at most, and to document and compare whether they experience the same side effects. On phase 3 right now, in the different countries in the world, this is phase 3. We are now giving a massive testing, no, of the COVID-19 vaccine. We have the Sinovac, the Sputnik, we have the Pfizer, we have the Moderna, we have the AstraZeneca. We are giving this to thousands of populations. And you notice, if you can see the arrow, this is pre-licensure, meaning to say no license yet, no, should I say, no permission, full permission or full license that this is really safe for everyone because it's still phase 3. We can have, or we can say that the vaccine is safe when we reaches the post-licensure, meaning to say, after the phase 3, when we all document the side effects, the findings, the signs and symptoms, the experiences of the people receiving the vaccine, then the manufacturing company will now address, what are those complications or what are those problems, health related, that will be addressed and incorporated to fully develop the vaccine. Okay, so that is happening on the phase 4. So see right now, everyone, almost other countries are giving vaccines in COVID-19, and yet this is still part of the clinical trial. Okay, so this is how we develop the vaccines. Next slide. So what is the role of schools in vaccination education? Next slide. The school or the institution, example, the STICES or the Polteques, for example, or the universities, the institution, our school, your institution, has a very important role to play to educate those people surrounding the school. For the families, example, I am a health worker, you are a nursing student. What you have learned in school, especially on the vaccine, on the importance of vaccine, the signs and symptoms, should be transported, should also be relayed to the family members. You are going to campaign for your family members that it is safe to be vaccinated, that this is important for us to get the herd immunity. This is important for us to have the social distancing every time, to wear our PPE, protective equipments, our mask, our goggles, and all the safety, in order for us to be protected with the problem or with the COVID-19. So the school's role is very important. If the school is not teaching well, if the teachers, if the professors, if the lecturers are not doing good to educate their students, then that means that the family also will not be educated. We also have the out-of-school programs. When you say out-of-school programs, these are the youth organizations. These are the community that we are usually adapting in order to implement our different teachings and community health educations. The school also is responsible to educate the employers or the business institutions, especially the health and social agencies. When you send your students in the hospital or in the community, we are also learning from them. The hospital must also receive proper education from the schools, because the school is expected to produce professionals, and these professionals later on different hospital and other social and health agencies. Okay, so that's the very important role the school is doing, especially in the education and information dissemination aspect. Next slide. So these are some of the bullets that we are actually in need to educate. We have to provide factual information. When you say factual information, this is based on science. This is based on research. This is based on books. This is based on scientific studies on the vaccines and incorporate that in the current education about health, maintenance, or prevention strategies. Vaccine is not a cure. Vaccine is part of preventive management. And we have also to provide messages regarding the importance and efficacy of vaccinations disseminated in different media platforms. And so we also have to explain the benefits of vaccines. I already mentioned to you why vaccine is important, why vaccine is safe, what is the part of that vaccine, the antigen that is the weakened component in order to protect us from the different sources of the diseases, to acquire self-protection, and to acquire community immunity, or I called it herd immunity. Identify resources that could be used for needs assessment and resource mapping, meaning the government is playing a role that in order to program and to prioritize who will be receiving the vaccine first. Ideally, it is the vulnerable population that I mentioned earlier, meaning the very old, the young population, the healthcare workers, the frontliners, the pregnant women, those having comorbidities are prioritized, are to be prioritized for the vaccine giving. And those having are prioritized for the vaccine giving. And so I think this is the last slide that I have. Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Joel, for the presentation. Okay, to the participant, please. Question. The question.
Suaranya hilang.
Ya, moderator.
Suaranya hilang.
Moderator di-mute itu, di-unmute dulu. Di-unmute.
Okay, please ask the participant a question.
Moderator. Halo moderator. Saya ya, bertanya ya. Mbak Jessica.
Ya, silakan.
Ya. Halo, thank you. Thank you, moderator. Good morning, Joel.
Hello, good morning. Thank you.
Good morning, Joel.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning. Okay.
Buki delay, Buki, bentar, Buki.
Sekarang pengajian in Indonesia.
Buki delay, bentar, masih di
Bingung ya.
kontak.
Bisa di SMS kalau ini di chat.
Delay, Bu, delay.
Bingung.
Delay.
Delay Bu Mugi, mohon maaf.
Di anu aja di SMS agar
Sebentar Bu Mugi, sinyalnya delay.
So here there is an incoming question from.
Okay, so I will. Okay, yes, I will answer that. I read the question from Sri Mujanti. Yes, good for you in Indonesia because you already started with the giving of vaccines, but in the Philippines not yet. Nobody except no one yet ever received the vaccine. We have the plans on how to give it, but as of this time, no vaccine yet available. But we are also planning to give that to health workers, to the vulnerable population, in order to have at least a degree of protection. But as of this time, as I've said, no vaccines yet. I appreciate the Indonesian government not personally because you already provide the vaccine for your health workers. But in the Philippines, not yet. You are still on the planning stage of who will benefit and who will give and where is that vaccination site. The plan of the government is to utilize the institution, the schools, as the vaccination site. But as of now, no vaccine yet. Because the plan no vaccine yet.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Joel, for the answer. It is well received.
You're welcome, Shri.
Okay, please ask other participants to send question in the chat column provided.
Good morning, moderator. Can I ask questions in Mr. Rico? Is my voice clear?
Okay, Rana, your voice is clear. Okay.
Okay.
Present your question.
Good morning, Mr. Joel. Good presentation, good material. So, since COVID-19 pandemic hit, people are divided by two groups. You know, who live in COVID-19 and who not. And it also happened when the vaccine already delivered in Indonesia. There are also people who okay with vaccination, they are cooperate with the vaccination, and who are opposed to vaccination. And in Indonesia, there are, a public, like a public figure, the government. She really opposed the vaccine, and of course, it will inhibit the vaccine program itself. So, is there any what is it? Any strategies to spread the awareness to this group, to these people who are opposed to vaccination? So,
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah. Okay. So, yes, it's true that there are those who are in favor of the vaccine and those who are not also sold out to accept the vaccine by themselves. One of the strategies, I have said, it starts with the education, the proper education, that what are the different benefits of the vaccine, which I already mentioned during my presentation. Now, another thing as a strategy, maybe you were able to read in the internet or in the news that there are celebrities, our idol, the actors and actresses, or even the politicians, having a footage of themselves receiving the vaccine. And that is one of, I think, of the strategy that we can use to campaign more of those people who are in the first place have negative impact, negative connotation about the vaccine. And when they see their idols, the actresses, the actors, the celebrities, the politicians, that they actually receive the vaccine, then it may somehow change their mind to receive the vaccine because it is safe. So that's one of the strategies now used by other countries. I don't know with Indonesia, maybe you have the example, the very popular actor or the very popular actress or even the president of the Indonesia, Republic of Indonesia, Soekarno. I think I forget
Yeah.
the president name.
The
Yeah, no?
president
And so
is the first vaccine in Indonesia. So
yeah,
be the
maybe
first
that's one of the strategy. Yeah, maybe that's one of the strategy that would say, oh, Indonesians people, here I am and I received the vaccine. I am your president. So if whatever happens to me, if the vaccine will give me more benefit, so this is an evidence that really vaccine is safe for everyone. But then again, we have to remember that even if how the government plan for the progress of a certain territory, there are still those who are very hesitant to accept it because they have their own personal beliefs, they have their own way of thinking, and that's why before we give the vaccine, we really have to ask the permission from these people. We have to respect the culture of these people. We have to respect their beliefs, their traditions. We call it indigenous knowledge, meaning this is a knowledge that is already true and proven by their population, by their community for long years. So we should not neglect that. We should not reject that. We should appreciate it because it's part of their life as a people. So going back to your query, if what are the strategies, so I may mention about it. And I always believe that there is no issues too hard to resolve if one really understands its purpose. So we have to communicate them properly. We have to give them facts. We should give them education based on the scientific explanation that this and this will happen to you. So meaning we have to lay down all our cards, and that is the role of you as a nurse or anybody to educate, to reach out the family that you are representing. I think that's one of the best strategy. I hope I answer your question.
Yes, thank you for the amazing answer.
There are questions in the chat box. I will read that. Examples of the side effects. Some of the side effects have said maybe an increase of body temperature the moment you receive the vaccine, or they might be ache, no, in the arm, the injection site. These are mild considerations. There are also long-lasting, although rare, as I've said, especially when you were not able to consult first a medical practitioner prior to giving the vaccines. As you remember, vaccine is important, but again, we are cautioned not to give that to the seriously ill population, meaning those terminally ill clients, because the purpose of the vaccine is for protection, for prevention. And if they already have the disease, their need is not to prevent, but to cure for the particular disease. And remember that the antigen is a weakened form, the weakened component that once reaches into the body will create more like it will enliven, meaning it would keep the person like a matter of awake or alive, because the virus now starts to develop its immunity or creating resistance or immunity status at their system. So if you have a poor health or severely injured or ill individual, it may lead to a long-lasting complications, irreversible, meaning we cannot change, we cannot address no more the problem because it's already damaging the major components of our cessations or severe adverse reactions. And that is something that we need to prevent. That's why before we give the vaccines, no, it is not just given shot, but we have to inform and have a consultation, an expert, medical expert of that, whether we are capable, our body based on physical assessments or diagnostic assessments, whether we are eligible or capable of receiving those vaccines. So I think we can prevent the complications or the irreversible damage once vaccine is given. With regards to the immunity, if it's from 0 to 100%, again, for as long as the vaccine is given, if it's complete already from phases 1 to 4, the vaccine has a good promise, meaning to say it actually serves as a major protective equipment more than the PPE that we are needing. Okay, so maybe the protection rate varies from age to age, but at least it's more than 50% giving us the immunity. Okay, so by the time or next time that we are receiving or we are confronting with a particular disease, for example, so the body will able to counteract the said disease in the future because we already have in us the immunity because of that vaccine. Okay. Another question from Rich Ryan. How effective the immunity from vaccination when compared to immunity of someone who has been infected? We are talking here of the active and passive immunity. It depends because vaccines are given as a preventive measures for those non-communicable diseases. But there are instances wherein we can only acquire immunity when we first experience the disease. Example, we have the chicken pox, for example, no? The chicken pox. So we really, I don't know if we have now a very specific vaccine for that chicken pox. I think there's none. But we have to experience first the chicken pox as a disease process. And by the next time we are confronted with a particular disease, then our body already have the protection against us. Meaning we have to experience first the disease process itself for us to develop the immunity. But unlike with COVID-19 vaccine, we do not want to experience COVID. We do not want to happen that. No, that's why for us to acquire the prevention, no, before before COVID-19 reaches the body, we must have to have a self-defense, and that is through vaccination. So this is now the two different stories. One is there are conditions that we need to experience first in order to acquire immunity. And the other thing is we really have to prevent in advance, like vaccines, like COVID-19 vaccines, so that when the COVID disease happens or is standing in front of us, we will be protected from it. So that's a two type of immunity in to address the question of Rich Ryan. Okay, but we cannot compare. We cannot compare because they are two different stories. Okay, there are two different stories in terms of immunity. We have the passive immunity and the active immunity. Example, one of the example, the colostrum of the mother, no, the breast milk, no, the first milk. That's why breastfeeding is very important. It's part of immunity. That's why children acquired this, no, this type of immunity because it is being passed through from the mother to the baby. So, well, and so when there are like childhood illnesses through or the coughs or you know what, the community acquired, you know, problems, automatically the baby having or receiving that colostrum from an exclusive breastfeeding were more or less being protected over those babies who are bottle fed, because there are also mothers who do not want their babies to be breastfed. Others will purchase commercially prepared milk, the milk formula, no, and that is being given as a nutrition source. And so when these two babies are, you know, being confronted with a common colds or common coughs or common health related conditions, presumably the baby having the breastfed will be protected because she acquired or that baby acquired this certain colostrum or that certain the certain breast milk coming from the mother over the baby in fed with a formula prepared or commercially prepared milk. But we say, who among these two babies are protected? Then we cannot say. But based on science, baby with sustained exclusive breastfeeding are more prevented over the babies fed in using commercially prepared or formula milk. So that's a those thing, no? In immunity, we have active and the passive immunity. I hope I answered the question of Rich Ryan. Any more questions?
Okay, Mr. Joel, there is a question from live chat YouTube. From Vinida Ramadhani. Good morning. Excuse me. I want to ask about vaccination. Vaccination, especially during a pandemic, is very much needed to stop or at least control the spread of COVID-19. But according to an article I have read before about vaccine that should not be given to certain groups, such as someone who has congenital disease. Therefore, how do you protect some of the group that cannot be vaccinated?
Very good.
Okay, Mr. Joe, please answer.
Yeah. Okay. That's also true. No, there are group of people that even if they wish to receive, but their condition, their physical conditions is not permitting them to accept or to receive the vaccine. So what we can do for them to be protected is that for those who are able, for those who are eligible to receive the vaccine should be vaccinated. Example, a family of 5 members and one of that family member has a congenital problem which is not possible to receive the vaccine. So how can we protect that vulnerable population? The remaining 4 should have the vaccine, should receive the vaccine. And that is the principle of herd immunity. When it's a herd immunity, majority of at least 60 to 70% of that population should receive the vaccine so that those who cannot receive the vaccine will somewhat be protected. So we can still prevent those vulnerable group in order to be protected when the majority of the population receives the vaccine. We call it herd immunization. Another thing is that the way we compose ourselves, meaning we have to follow still with the protocols. We need to use still our masks even if we are at home. We have to continue washing our hands. We have to continue observing isolation or social distancing, even in the family setting, because we know that somebody inside the house is immunocompromised and cannot receive the vaccine by any means. So at least for that person to be protected, the other family members should perform the safety protocols. That's it. That's how are we going to protect those people who by any means cannot receive the vaccine, no matter they wish to receive one. Okay, so we have to address that. We have to again educate, going back with education, that those who are able to receive, eligible to receive, capable to receive, should receive the vaccine.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Joel. Okay, we wait for questions from participation.
Okay, from me, Jessica from Pak Agus.
Silakan Pak Agus.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Joel.
Good morning, Pak Agus.
I think for this morning discussion is very important and good theme of discussion about importance of vaccination and immunity education among vulnerable groups. And then, as you know, we are in Indonesia, especially in Head Polytechnic of Indonesia. Now get difficulties to make classes because the government decided to activity restriction, yeah. And then I believe this is very hard, yeah, very. This is the big problem for me, especially to make classes. And then I want to know about in nursing academy, especially in Filipina, about the participation of student, especially nursing student in vaccination. And then maybe whether they are involved in vaccine research, maybe. And then as a lecturer, what the participation to make success of the vaccine program on your government, especially in Filipina? Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pak Agus. You have two questions. Number one is the involvement of the students in the said program of vaccination. Right now, our students, level 3, no, third year students, are conducting research onto the community and surveying whether they are willing to be vaccinated or not. And based on the studies that they have, the people are not really sold out, are not really comfortable of receiving the vaccine. But the institution, the healthcare institution, is telling us that we really have to give the vaccine. So what is the role now of these students? Based on their survey, we're able to conduct information dissemination through webinars like this and to the different community settings to inform the public that it is safe. It is safe really to acquire and receive the vaccine that is based from the research conducted by our students. And so from there, we develop plans, we develop programs and information dissemination. We organized webinars, a community activities, even an online activity. We also develop like reading material, the leaflets, no, the brochure, and give it for free. That is to make sure that even if we are done with a webinar, the people in the community still have the material to read. And that is to change their mindset that it is okay to receive the vaccine. With regards to the participation of the healthcare, we, the teachers in the institutions, we write from our students. It's not a guarantee that even our nursing students, they also have some second thought about the vaccine because they read a lot more than their teachers. We know that. The teachers just read from the books, from the journals, but our students are advanced. They read from YouTube, they read from Facebook, from Messenger, from WhatsApp, all informations. But they are not sure if that information is correct or not. So we have to make activities educating our own students that this is what really happens when one receives the vaccine. And by the time that they already grasp the information, they are now changing slowly the community and the family they belong. That's how we educate or change, and our involvement in the said campaign of the government to acquiring the vaccine.
And Cecil.
Okay, thanks.
I hope you were yeah.
Okay, thanks, Mr. Joel. I am so sorry because the signal is not good. Okay, I
I
think no problem.
understand.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, moderator, maybe continue on this program.
Okay. Next question in room chat from Cecil. To Mr. Joel, please answer.
Yeah, there is a question from the chat box from Panisha Cecil. I want to ask, there's some kind of vaccine for COVID-19 at the moment. What difference is there between those vaccines and how if they are affected? If there is a variation, how does the vaccine affect the immunity of the someone vaccinated and how it can be treated? Okay. Yes, it's true. We have different vaccines now from the different manufacturer. We have the Sinovac, the Sputnik from Russia. We have also the Pfizer, the Moderna, the Novavax, the AstraZeneca, a lot. But what is important is that regardless of this type of vaccine, whichever comes first in Indonesia, whichever comes first in the Philippines, you should be receiving that. Why? Because, as I've said, regardless of this kind of vaccine, the branding, the branding of this vaccine, the manufacture of the vaccine, there's only one aim, and that is self-protection and to acquire herd immunity. So whichever comes first, regardless of the brand, you can receive for as long as you are eligible to receive that. But make sure that the vaccine is given in 2 doses with at least interval of 2 weeks or 20 or 28 weeks. That's the standard. So if you are receiving the first dose from AstraZeneca, for example, you make sure that you will be receiving the same dose of the same brand. Do not use the other brand because I have said they are manufactured in a different conditions. We do not know what is the major component of AstraZeneca, what is the component of Moderna, but both of these are helping us to have a protection against COVID-19. So that is actually the essence. No? So you have to receive, again, when there are some side effects, it should be mild effects and that can be treated. No? Example, if you're having fever, so the treatment may give, the doctor will give you like antipyretic, for example. Or if you have problems on the inflammation of the injection site, then you may provide compress to the patient. So these are just signs of tolerable or manageable symptoms or effects of COVID-19. Yeah, you have
Okay, we are waiting for some question from the participant. So participant, please send question in the room chat or turn on the audio.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning, Mister. My name is Dewi Kavia and I'm from second grade. I want to ask about when does begin given the COVID-19 vaccine cause reactive antibody test and how it different people from people who do a reactive test without vaccinations.
I was not able to grasp the question because I think of the signal. But when yes, can you please repeat again?
Repeat your question, Dewi.
Okay, my question is, when people given the COVID-19 vaccine cause reactive antibody test, and how is different from people who do a reactive test without vaccine?
Okay, so rapid testing or the skin testing, for example. Okay, unlike with the other type of medications, not medications, because medications like bacterial medications, we have to test for negative for that. But for vaccines, they are to be given immediately because the aim is not to cure a disease, but to prevent somebody from acquiring the disease. So I think there is no problem with the testing, regardless if you are positive or negative to a rapid test. If you are, when the doctor would say that you are already eligible to receive the vaccine, then there is no problem. I think the skin testing or the testing for allergic reactions may not be considered this time, considering that again, the vaccine is for protection and prevention and not to address the disease. That's it. That's it. Any more questions? That's it. If you want to have more questions and when the time is over, I can give you my email address so you can continue asking me questions about it even if this webinar is over. So I will write my email and please feel free to send your questions. So I wrote my email address on the group chat, the chat box, so you can question me or ask me anything about it. So I write. Yes, any questions?
Good morning, Mrs. Joel. Mr.
One question.
Pak Agus,
Oke.
suaranya nggak bisa, Pak Agus.
Iya, oke, not clear ya.
Yes.
Not clear. Oke, yang mau bertanya langsung siapa tadi?
Good morning, Mr. Joel.
Morning.
My name is Sabrina, and I wanna ask the question is: will the COVID-19 vaccine provide long-term protection, and are we immune or invulnerable to the COVID-19 virus after
Wajahnya
being
dibuka atau Mbak
vaccinated?
Sabrina? Coba wajahnya dibuka Mbak Sabrina.
So your video, Sabrina.
I had a
polite.
little bad connection in here, ma'am.
Oh, not good connection, mom.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's not possible to turn on my video. I'm sorry.
Okay, continue your question.
Okay, I think the question is if we're going to have the immunity and for how long, no? Again, the vaccine is giving us the immunity for COVID-19. But when there are, again, variants, higher variants, higher than COVID-19, then there would be possibilities that we may also experience a lesser level of immunity. Example, not just like with the COVID-19, but let's say, for example, a flu or common colds, for example. We know that a common colds, no, I mean, colds are results or are brought about by virus, and we have at least 200 as of the last time I read. We have 200 variants or types of colds, and we only receive one as a vaccine for a specific colds. So if we are like to experience or to get encounter with other variants of that cold, then we are not protected in some way. Because the virus now, the causative agent, if you remember the causative agent, if that causative agent is different from that designed to that particular vaccine. So if you would ask me if we are protected with like a higher variant of COVID-19, that we cannot say for now, because what we are facing is to address the global pandemic of this common strand. Now, the COVID-19, the novel coronavirus, we call the first name of COVID-19 is novel corona. Now it's novel coronavirus, the nCoV, but they changed it to COVID-19. It's coronavirus disease 19 because it is discovered in 2019. That's it. So again, if you would ask me right now, what if, Mr. Joel, there is a higher form of COVID, not particularly COVID-19, but higher higher variant of COVID, which is now we have like the COVID variant in UK, the United Kingdom. We detected already higher variant of COVID from UK. I am not sure if we are still protected even if we receive the COVID-19 vaccine. Again, because their causative agent, the one that causes the disease to occur, is different in nature. Maybe of the same family, but the strength, the variant is different. And I do not know if the pharmaceutical companies are considering that variant when they develop the COVID-19 vaccine. That's the problem there. But I think you should not think of that way. Regardless if what type of variant, because it's already a virus, it's just a virus. The only means to support ourselves is to increase our self-immunity, to be always healthy. And how are we going to do that? Good nutrition, good diet, proper sleep. Do not spend your hours in over not sleeping because of reading things from Facebook, or you even use a lot of time instead of sleeping. You use your time in reading your comics or something like that, or something that is not important. You spend time on it. No, do not use your time on that, because immunity is stabilized when we have good nutrition, good sleep, good behavior, physical, personal behavior, on the way we deal with our health seeking behaviors. So those are very important, and protective management over the vaccine. It's beyond vaccine. Okay. I hope I was able to answer the question.
Thank you,
Any
Mr. Joel.
questions?
Yes. Hello, moderator.
Okay, moderator from
Maybe this is
Mr.
the
Andi
last question.
Hayun. Yeah, maybe this is the last question, Mas
Yes,
Andi Hayun,
thank you.
because time is
This
up.
is a very interesting topic, Mr. Joel. So I have one question about the vaccine COVID-19. Can this vaccine give it to the non-communicable disease, such as the HIV? How do you think about that? Thank you.
Yes. Yeah. Those people with HIV, for example, are experiencing immunocompromised individuals, right? They have low immunity. And the reason why we give the vaccine is to provide a certain degree of immunity. There are people who are diagnosed with HIV, but although the disease is communicable, especially when one is having a sexual activity or sexual partner, many sexual partner, then that predisposes the person to be, to be exposed to some risk. My point here is that for as long as the doctor, no, because as I've said earlier, we really have to consult a medical opinion before receiving the vaccine, because we cannot just buy the vaccines over the counter. It must be given, although it's for free. And take note that wherever part of the world you may be, this is still phase 3, and this vaccine is given for an emergency response. Therefore, it was always suggested that there is no cost in receiving this vaccine because we are still on the trial. It's not yet over in phase 4. So going back to your question, if an HIV individual having a problem of immunity be able to receive vaccine, the answer is yes. The more we give them the vaccine, because they are the vulnerable population. But we make sure that the HIV is not on the terminal or on the last stage. A person dies not because of HIV, but because of the complications brought about by the HIV. For example, respiratory problem, or cardiac problem, or problem in the kidney, or problem in the liver. They do not die because of HIV. They die because of the complications associated with low immunity. And so when that person having HIV, medically diagnosed with HIV, and yet the doctor would say, okay, you're eligible to receive that, meaning you really have to give the vaccine for that patients, regardless if it's HIV or not, for as long as the contention is these people are capable of receiving. And when the doctor decides that the vaccine should be given because it will help augment or to promote more protection over damage to the immunity. When the doctor would say you receive the vaccine, then there is no problem. But if the person having HIV already have multiple organ problems, multiple complications in the body, and will immediately lead to an emergency death of the patient, then the doctor will not suggest to receive the COVID vaccine. It's only after assessing from the medical doctor your physical assessment. We go back with physical assessment. We're not just using the age. We also use the different physical assessment of the body. If you are capable, if giving the vaccine will give more benefit over harm, meaning choosing the lesser evil, which that gives you better result over a disease or a loss of life, for example. So I think that's my opinion, my personal thoughts on that.
Okay, thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. Mr. Joel. Yeah,
Yes.
this is very interesting discussion, and unfortunately time is limited, and then maybe the next time we invite you to give a lecture, maybe at the other topic, yeah, especially in COVID-19, and I hope you have a time to give a lecture the next time.
Yes.
Okay,
On
moderator.
April, yeah, on
Yeah.
April, I will also talk in a international conference by Universitas Erlangga. Yeah, in
Erlangga,
Universitas
okay.
Erlangga about about still COVID-19, but the focus is how we develop or how we promote the the nursing education, how we survive the nursing education in the COVID-19 pandemic. So I will be talking about our practices of how we reframe the nursing
Okay.
education. Right now, I'm being the dean. There
Okay.
is really a challenge of how are we going to teach our students without face to face. So that will be my topic in Erlangga, and I hope that you can also, attend to that conference.
Okay, I hope we can join with the international conference. Okay, Jessica.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Agus. I think all of the session have done. Thank you, Mr. Joel. I think all of the session have done. I'd like to thank Mr. Joel have answered all these questions, and also to all the audience for us and giving support to the student and giving support to the student as leader in nursing field in the future. Yes, hopefully all of the students satisfied the answering from Mr. Joel. So, ladies and gentlemen, the next we will come back to Wahyu Azhar. Please, Wahyu Azhar. I say thank you very much for sharing with us, Dr. Jure Uksan, DNSG FGNM, as the speakers today. It was an extraordinary material. And also thank you very much, our moderator, Jessica Kori Ashari. Well, what's up our event today? Again, the announcement for the audience. The evaluation form has available in room chat Zoom or YouTube. So for the participant, please fill in the form. Ladies and gentlemen, the next agenda is praying aid by Alpha Alrido Irawan. So Alpha, time is yours.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Salam, Om Swastiastu, Namo Buddhaya. For Muslim, I will lead prayer. For non-Muslim, please adjust. A'udzubillahi minasyaitonirrajim. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Allahumma sholli ala sayyidina Muhammad wa ala ali sayyidina Muhammad. Walhamdulillahirabbil alamin. Ya Allah, ya Tuhan kami, pada hari ini kami melaksanakan kegiatan kuliah tamu dengan tema Importance of Vaccination and Immunity Education among Vulnerable Groups. Berilah kami petunjuk, taufik, dan hidayah-Mu, sehingga kegiatan yang telah kami laksanakan ini dapat membawa barokah bagi kami. Ya Allah yang Maha Pengasih dan Penyayang, karuniakanlah kesadaran, ketabahan, serta keikhlasan dalam menjalankan tugas mulia ini. Ya Allah yang Maha Berkehendak, perlihatkanlah kebenaran di mata kami, bukakanlah jalan yang lurus menuju surga-Mu. Berikanlah kemudahan dan kelancaran dalam setiap langkah kami. Ingatkanlah kami agar kami senantiasa meneladani perjuangan para pendahulu kami, para pahlawan kami, dan pemimpin kami yang telah memberikan dharma baktinya bagi kami di masa yang akan datang. Ya Allah yang Maha Pengampun, ampunilah dosa kami, dosa kedua orang tua kami, serta dosa pemimpin-pemimpin kami. Berikanlah petunjuk dan kesadaran agar senantiasa melangkah di jalan yang Engkau ridhoi. Bimbinglah kami kepada jalan yang benar, serta jauhkanlah kami dari segala petaka, hilaf, dan derita. Robbana atina fid dunya hasanah, wa fil akhirati hasanah, wa qina adzabannar. Walhamdulillahirabbil alamin. That's all from us. If there is a word that is not pleasing to us, we apologize profusely. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. I say thank you for Alpha. Okay, the next, maybe from the head of Blitar Nursing Study, we'll give a thanks or something for our speakers today. So, Ibu Dr. Nersri Mugianti, MGUP, time is yours.
Thanks, Wahyu ya, Wahyu Azhar. Yeah. Good morning, everyone. The Honorable Mr. Joel. Yeah. Previously, we are really sorry for the trouble connection in the opening session due to the bad connection here. Well, Mr. Joel, thank you for your time to be the speaker of guest lecture in Nursing Diploma 3 Blitar and give plenty new knowledge for my students. We are very glad to have you here as the speaker of guest lecture. I hope you don't mind if we invite you again for being the speaker in the future. I hope my students can be as great as you and they can be motivated to increase their knowledge because it is very important for the future. One more, thank you so much, Mr. Joel. Mr. Joel, yeah. We welcome you to come to Blitar one day if the COVID is over. Yeah. And thank you all lecture, students, and all participation. Yeah. See you next time. Goodbye and good evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Ibu Mugi.
Mrs. Mugianti.
Before we finish our activity, there will be a documentation team. I please for all the participants to turn on the camera. So, documentation team, time is yours. Okay, one again, please, for all the participants, please turn on camera. Okay, please welcome to documentation team. I'll start from the slide 1. 3, 2, 1. Slide 2. 3, 2, 1. Okay, for slide 3, 3, 2, 1. Slide 4, 3, 2, 1. Slide 5, 3, 2, 1. And the last slide, 3, 2, 1. Okay, thank you so much for the documentation team. For the announcement, this program has a benefit to get a certificate. So for the participants who wants to set the certificate must complete the attendance and evaluation form. Ladies and gentlemen, finally, we've through all the event today. So, as the host personally, I would like to say I'm so sorry if there are mistakes or inconveniences in my utterances during handling our program. So, now let's we close this activity with recite Hamdalah. Alhamdulillahirabbil alamin.
Alhamdulillah.
Ladies and gentlemen, no, all this program has been ended. So, I as MC today, I do apologize for any mistakes. And see you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you very much, Mr. Joel.
Thank you, Dr. Joel.
Thank you, Wiwin. Thank you, Agus, Pak Agus. Send my
Hopefully, can
regards
see you
to
next
Sopraitno and Sri Mujanti.